In this video, we are working to understand the logic behind vector functions and how they give us the equation of a line. So we're going to begin with the equation y is equal to 2x minus 1, and we're going to graph that according to our algebra techniques where we start at the y-intercept and we use the slope of up to right 1 to come up with the graph of this line. Now let's consider the 2 points on the line P and Q, 0, -1, and 1, 1, and we want to look at the vector PQ starting at the point P and going to the point Q. So this is our vector PQ. We're going to notice that this PQ vector is what we consider to be a vector in the direction of our line. Let's call this line L. And so we will say a vector in the direction of line L. Let's make note of a couple things about our PQ vector. First of all, we can come up with the components of our PQ vector by determining how far we travel in the direction of x and how far we travel in the direction of y in order to get from the initial to the terminal point. And we do this by saying the terminal minus initial, right? We come up with those distances by looking at the terminal value of x minus the initial value of x. So we would be saying 1 minus 0 here to get the change in the direction of x. And then terminal minus initial, we would say 1 minus -1 to get the change in the direction of y. So PQ in this case is going to be 1, 2. It's the vector where the change in x was 1 and the change in y is 2, right? We could also generally throw up this notation that the horizontal component is going to consist of the change in the direction of x and the change in the direction of y. But the way that we're going to refer to this vector is that it is a vector in the direction of L. We could also and will also be saying this is a direction vector. As mentioned in a previous video, we can take the rectangular version of this line and parameterize it by letting x equal to the parameter, and then y would be the equation that results by plugging t in for x, so that would be 2t minus 1, and then these could then become the components of what we refer to as the vector valued function for that line. And what we want to notice here is that the vector function having the t as the component of x and 2t minus 1 as the component for the y values, and decompose this vector into the sum of two vectors. The sum of two vectors is what we're going to be looking for here, and we want this second vector to be the one that contains the parameter t. So we're going to be looking at each of these individual components and writing it as something plus something that involves a t. So my horizontal component, or my x component, is going to look like 0 plus t. If I add those two x components together, I do get the x component that we started with. So we can write that first one as 0 plus t. If we look at this y component, or the vertical component, that would have to, if I want the t value to be in the second vector, then I'm going to need -1 here and 2t here, right? We're writing the second vector as the one that contains the parameter. What we're doing is we are trying to develop an understanding for why we express our vector functions for lines in a particular way. So we're going to keep decomposing this a little bit using this specific example, and then we're going to generalize the process in the form of a formula for the equation of a line. So we have 0, -1, and let's then also factor out this scalar quantity of a t from the second vector so that I have 1, 2 that remains. And what we're going to notice here is that these two vectors that we were able to create by decomposition are actually something that we can point to on the graph. Notice that this 0, -1 is corresponding to a point that was actually on my line. And this 1, 2 is the same thing as the direction vector that we found a moment ago. This is a specific example of something that is going to happen in the general case. And so what we're going to do is we're going to let this vector 0, -1 be generalized by saying that this is the vector that we would get if we plugged 0 in for our value of t. R sub 0 is the same thing as saying R evaluated at 0, but we're going to use this R naught notation because it's the same thing that is used in lots of many different texts. So we'll say R0 is, we're going to actually call it a position vector, or a vector that gets me to a point that is on the line. And then we're also going to look at this 1, -2 as being what we called it a moment ago, the direction vector, or a vector in the direction of the line. Let's give that its own name as well, again kind of coinciding with some of the common notation used in many different textbooks. We'll use v vector for the direction vector. V is giving me a vector in the direction of our line. So now we're going to generalize this. What we see here is that more generally we can look at a vector function is going to be created by considering a position vector. Again, this would be taking me to a point on the line, or any point on the line can be turned into a vector to give me that position vector. And then to that, we're going to add a scalar multiple of a direction vector. And if you think about this, this kind of feels very similar to a topic that we have discussed in pre-calculus. We'll draw those similarities here in just a minute. So here we are formalizing this formula in order to get a vector function. This is going to give us the vector function for the equation of a line. We basically need to take any point and turn that into a vector, which is going to be considered our position vector, right? And then we're going to find a direction vector, and that vector in the direction of line L will be multiplied by our parameter, and that will be the function that we're calling the vector function for the equation of a line. Now this is very similar to an idea that we discussed back in pre-calculus. In order to write the equation of a line in pre-calculus, we needed basically two things. We needed any point that was a point on our line, and we also needed the slope of the line, which of course we used to call m. Once we had any point, let's call it x1, y1, and the slope, we would then put that into our point slope formula, which was y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1, and this is how we'd come up with the equation of a line in pre-calculus, right? So in multivariable calculus, we're actually going to be writing the equations of our lines as vector functions. Again, vector function and vector equation, these are the same thing. So in order to find the vector function or vector equation of a line, similarly, we're going to need any point. We're going to need to get a point on the line and start from there. And instead of having the slope that gives me the direction of the line, we're going to be using a direction vector that gives us the direction of the line. And what we'll do is we'll take the point that's on the line and turn that into, we'll call it an initial vector or a position vector. So this is going to be composed of an initial value for x, an initial value for y, right, turned into a vector. So we're using that pointy bracket notation. Essentially, this is just an ordered pair that we turn into a vector, a position vector. And we're going to want to have a direction vector. We're going to call this vector v, and let's arbitrarily use the components for v as being a, b. So if we are looking for a vector function with an independent variable that is the parameter, that vector equation can be obtained by looking at some point on the line turned into a position vector plus a scalar multiple that is the parameter of the position vector v. So let's get back to our example and see if we can make some sense of how this plays out with actual numbers. So as we said, we took our line in rectangular form and parameterized it to come up with the components of my vector function. We then were able to decompose that vector function into the sum of two vectors, where the first one is considered to be r0, or the position vector, or the initial position. And then we add that to the parameter multiplied by our direction vector. Let's look at a table of values where we are inputting different values of the parameter and see what kinds of vectors come out of that, starting with the value 0, right? If we plug 0 into our vector function at either one of these spots, so r at 0 is equal to, the horizontal component is going to be 0, the vertical component is going to be -1, and we get the ordered pair 0, -1 out. Notice we would get that same ordered pair out if we were to plug our t is equal to 0 value into the second equation, because t is equal to 0 would be the scalar multiple of that direction vector, which of course gives me a product of 0, and we end up with the same 0, -1 output, whether we put it into the first version of our vector function or the second. So let's look at that vector graphed as a position vector, so starting the initial point at the origin and then terminating at the ordered pair that matches the components, right? So this is our r0 vector, but as well, we could use the notation here. Instead of r evaluated at 0, we could use the notation r sub 0, or r0. Now, if we were to put in another value for t, so we'll have 1 in for t, that gives me my horizontal component is 1. 1 plugged in for t here is going to give me, again, 1 as the x component and 2 minus 1, which is 1 as the y component. So we end up with the output vector that is 1, 1. Now, if we graph 1, 1 as a position vector, meaning that the initial point is at the origin, then the terminal point would land at the ordered pair that matches the components of the vector. So this is going to be the vector evaluated at 1. Now, let's look at the vector function evaluated at 2. We're going to plug 2 in for the parameter in either one of these vector functions, whichever one you want to work with. And the 2 plugged in for the parameter is going to be 2 is the horizontal component, and then 2 times 2 minus 1, which is going to be 2 and 3. And 2, 3 is the output vector when we plug in the parameter 2. Graph 2, 3 as a position vector, meaning that that is going to terminate at the ordered pair that matches the components of the vector, and we end up with r evaluated at 2. Now, notice that these 3 vectors have terminal points that are on the line L that we started with, right? Which makes this vector function a function that represents that line. Of course, it can also be decomposed to look like this, both ways. If we do look at it in this second form, it does make sense that we would be thinking about the vector function as an initial position plus some scalar multiple of my direction vector. Remember, 1, 2 was the direction vector, right? In order to get from one ordered pair to another ordered pair on the graph, we did take a change in x that was 1 unit long and a change in y that was 2 units. And so to get from point r0 to point r1, we did move 1 unit in the direction of x and 2 units in the direction of y. So if we were to start with the initial vector r0, and then to that vector add a vector 1, 2, we would use our triangle method and see that we're going to end up with another point that's on the line. If we take that initial vector r0 and add a scalar multiple of 1, 2, so a longer vector that is in that same direction, we're still going to end up with a point that is on the line, or a vector that points to another point on the line. So essentially, we're starting at an initial vector and we're adding a scalar multiple of the direction vector to get a third vector that is pointing to, terminating at a point that is on the line L.